going, everybody? Hopefully you are all good and well. So, today we're going to do my review of CyberPunk 2077. There's not going to be any gameplay footage in here, so feel free to tab out and just listen if you want. Mostly because I don't want, in case you have not played the game yet, I don't want to give you anything majorly spoiler heavy. Also, linked down below, you're going to see all my buddy Lambo Lada's information because he's kindly allowed me to use his music in this review and other future things. So go follow Lambo on all the things listed. It's going to be good shit. So, we're going to, by going over the game, we'll pop in my things from my experience, what I thought of the game entirely, good, bad, or otherwise, and then I'll give you an overall grade at the end. I'm going to try to keep this as minimal spoilers if I can. So, starting off, I did pick the Street Kid path, as I kind of leaned more towards it. I do want to do a run through of the game as a Nomad or a Corpo, but for the sake of my first playthrough, we did the Street Kid path. I also picked the female V. And this is just like one of the nitpick bad things I'm going to talk about. I didn't care for the voice actor of the male V. Female V, however, I actually enjoyed her. I enjoyed the sound of her voice. Like, nothing against the voice actor that plays V for the dude. No hate, no cap. It just wasn't for me. So I picked the female V. And that's going to turn into a good decision down the road. But we get through, and the creation suite, while fucking amazing, I wish like Madden and NBA, WWE, anything with a good character creation needs something this good. The character builder for CyberPunk, easily fucking amazing. The one thing I had knock against it is that outside of driving, the gameplay's in first person. So unless you look into a mirror and are taking pictures, which I didn't do a lot of, because for some reason looking in a mirror really messed with my streaming software. Like, it did not like that too much. So, nothing I could really do there. But that's just things I have no control over, tech stuff, you know. But anyway, I'm going through the game, and the character Jackie that you first meet tries to kill you in the Street Kid path. I don't know what he's like in the Corpo or Nomad paths, but he ends up being like a big brother kind of character, and what it felt like to me anyway. And spoiler, skip ahead a few seconds if you don't want to hear it. When Jackie died, like, that hit me right in the soul, man. Right in the soul. Oh, man. Like, me and chat felt it, like, ugh. But you really did feel for the characters, though. Like, you got to know all these unique personalities and how they interact with V. There's even, in my initial experience, there's even people I didn't even really deal with. Like, you have the whole arc with River that you can do from a side quest because he's not directly a main character. All the stuff with Meredith and Regina and Wakoko if you chose to do those side missions, which I did not. There are some side missions that I did actually do that ended up being very crucial later on. But then when you're going through the main story, Like, I tried to play as honorable as I could for being a criminal. And at the end of the first act, it does not pay off. You'll know this when you play. I'm not going to tell you how that doesn't pay off, but just know that's a thing. And then you get into... No, that was... Then you get into how you meet Johnny Silverhand. I think Keanu comes off a little monotonous at times. I feel like in some portions where it needed a little more emotion from Johnny, felt like didn't get that. It was very like... I'm trying to find the word for it. Again, I do these things off the cuff. It's kind of what I do. But there were points where it felt like Johnny wasn't the most emotive in his text. And his expressions, like, he could have been a little more expressive. But otherwise, you know, I wanted to do right by Johnny in my playthrough. Because, you know, when he's... Spoiler, skip a few seconds. When the guy's literally embedded in your brain, you kind of wanna hook him up. So, over the time, we meet Judy and Panam and the main characters involved with the story. Now, I did not know this when I initially picked the female character, because I fell in love with Judy. Love the character of Judy. She's fucking awesome. I love her entire character arc. And then to find out if you're the female V, you can make her your romance option. You best believe I was dating Judy. Like, yes. I mean, and if you're the male V in that point during the main story, you would have the romance option with Panam. But the whole storyline with Panam and the Aldecaldos, like, you felt for Panam and the goals she was trying to go for. Same thing with Judy. You felt for her. Like, you wanted to see Judy do well. You wanted to do right by these people. Like, and for me, at times, it literally felt like I was V in the whole... Granted, I am a very big and burly dude. Like, IRL. You can clearly see it. It's a nice beard. I'm very much a big, burly dude. But that game immersed me so hard, I felt like I actually was V in that moment. Like, the game is very easy to get lost in. Like, just fully immersed, all that. Now, I ended up getting the end... What was the only thing I spoiled myself on? Like, I intentionally left out a bulk of the gameplay. But there were some choices I made in there, like taking out people that I thought were going to mess us out or going to fuck us over later. But other than that, I've intentionally left big story stuff out. But the only thing I spoiled myself on was how to get the good ending with Judy, which makes for picking your end game very one-dimensional. But there's so many different ways to do the end game depending on the choices you made leading up to it. Like, there's even a whole thing, a whole secret ending that I learned later on after playing the game. If you have to get, like, your connection with Johnny to a very certain level and above to be able to do this, which I thought was really cool. Like, and I love, if anybody knows me, I'm very, very much a supporter of the gay community. I mean, being involved with it, let's just leave it at I have a very good affinity for cookware. That's just my joke with it. Being a part of the gay community as a pansexual person, I found that you can be canonically gay in the game. I thought that was fucking cool. Not so much for me at like let me rephrase that. Not so much just because you could do it. More so that the game devs had the balls to allow you to do it. Like, how I choose to do my romantic options, that's on me. How you choose to do yours, that's cool. Representation, though, is badass. So, allowing it to, if you wanted to have your V be canonically gay, you can. That's really cool. Which, you know, back to the whole romantic things. Judy was one of those, like, I seen her and I'm like, I need to romance this person. But there's so many different endings depending on how you choose to go about things. The ending I chose ended up, sure, you know, I don't want to give away the ending, but let's just say it was one of those cool ride off into the sunset kind of moments. It was great. But now let me get into the gameplay specifically. Let's start with the things I thought did not do well with the game, okay? Let's get the bad stuff out of the way. The first point I'd like to make is that the starting paths only affect your dialogue options. Like, I thought if we go with the street kid route that there'd be different side quests that deal with street kid things. Unless there is, and just because I didn't do a lot of the side quests that we didn't have these options, but it felt to me like whether you're a nomad, a corpo, or a street kid, really only affected dialogue options. It didn't really make or break you as a character, but that was kind of not cool. There were bugs that totally break you out of immersion into the game. I didn't encounter many of the, like, major bugs in it. But, like, things not being where they're supposed to be. Like, the occasional, like, the mirror bug out. It's like there's small little bugs in it that just take you out of the moment. And that kind of annoyed me a little bit. This is going to double as a good and a bad. The driving in the different array of vehicles that are in the game, really cool. However, driving them, not so cool. It felt literally clunky. Like, because I'm used to driving in games like GTA and other racers where the driving is super crisp and, like, super fine-tuned. Where driving in CyberPunk felt kind of clunky, the cars didn't really handle all that well. But there was also a plethora of fast travel locations, which is absolutely awesome. For someone that didn't care for the driving, fast travel's for you. But if you just want to take a drive around Night City, then by all means go ahead. I don't like the driving in the game, but you might, so that's just my opinion. But all the fast travel points that are in Night City, top tier, top tier. Now, one thing that I didn't put onto my list that I just thought of. As far as the cyberware stuff goes, like, if you don't know where the Ripper docks are or completely forget you've picked up these things, you kind of forget about cyberware enhancements from time to time. So that's kind of just like a but when you do find all the cool cyber enhancements, they're immaculate. So that's one of those middle of the road things. It's not a good thing, but it's also not bad either. I did deal with a little bit of text overlap, which leads into actually the next thing. Sometimes a mission didn't trigger when you're in the correct place. Like the last Panam side quest. When I got there to do it, it still tried to bring up it as if I ran into Panam on the street and just gave me basic text options. It took me like a couple tries of saving and resetting to get the mission to trigger. Especially at a pivotal mission like that. Ugh, come on, man. But forgive the jump cut there. Like, I kind of just tripped over my own tongue and just other things got distracting. So, had to cut out a bit of the end there, but back to the whole Panam thing. Yeah, like, when you give me non-important text options when I'm trying to trigger a very important mission, L. But, now, let's talk about a bit of the good things involved in CyberPunk. Like I said, if you knew where to find the cyberware and get kitted up that way, oh, dude, the cyberware options are really dope. There's a lot of cool different weapons, especially Johnny's pistol, which obviously I'm not going to tell you how you get that, but it's really cool. It even has a melee where you can, like, pistol whip him and it's just a range of fire comes out from there. Like, super awesome. I found myself using a lot of the blades, a lot of the katanas, the mantis blades. And I also used a lot of sniper rifles and the precision stuff. Like, we already covered how you felt for the characters and got easily lost in a lot of different weapon variety. The level up and trait building system was super cool because you had like intelligence, cool, body, technical ability, and there was one other one that I don't remember off the top of my head, but there was 5 different stats that you could level up, and then they have traits within them. Like, it's super deep. I started doing everything for the blades, but once I got to about mid-game, I started to have to use guns. So, that was super cool. Now, with the customization options, outside of looking in a mirror and taking a picture, you don't really see all that kind of thing. But you do see it in the very last cutscene. You do see your character. Depending on whatever ending you got, that's how you'll see them. But a lot of the clothing options, while they looked kind of nice, I cared more about them as armor than I did as a clothing item. Now, if this was third person, I probably would have cared a little more what the actual clothing looked like instead of looking like a complete goober just because they have high armor values. I would have cared what I looked like a little bit more, but outside of that, like, I used it more for armor, and there's not as much. This is kind of a bad, but kind of a good at the same time. Not as much random interaction with just random characters. Like, you could still beat up, like, the different gangs off screen if you want, as Honey decides to say hello in this review. Now, I want to eventually try a run where I do all the side quests. Well, that'll take some time. Now, could this game be good for challenge runs? Absolutely. Similar to like Madrybread doing the can you beat Skyrim using only such and such, or Fallout using such and such, or doing such and such. Even a pacifist run is somehow able to be done in Cyberpunk 2077. I wouldn't mind trying to do a completionist run in the vein of something like a Pokemon challenge. The one in specific, the Professor Oak's challenge. So basically how that would translate is before you do a main mission, you have to do all the side missions available first. So, because in a Professor Oak's challenge, you have to catch every Pokemon and evolve it before a gym badge. So kind of the same setup, but all that out of the way, do I see myself playing this game again? Absolutely. I am going to do a run with the male V to get all the Panam romance stuff just to see what that is. And I'm eventually going to do that completionist run. I do want to see what the other two starting paths are. Because again, I didn't see the beginnings as a corpo. I didn't see the beginnings as a nomad. However, I did see the beginning as a street kid, which made me want to pick it. I still never found that sentient vending machine, though. Which, for those that don't know, there's a sentient vending machine in Night City that is played by the same guy that plays, I think, Connor in Detroit Become Human. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. But my overall grade for Cyberpunk 2077, solid B+. Solid B+. I would have given it an A had the customization really actually mattered in the long haul outside of what gender your character is and what your hands look like. And if your starting paths actually had more to do with the main story and, you know, your bugs and shit. But future patches will get rid of the bugs to make it a little more enjoyable. But still, I felt like I was V for a good chunk of my playthrough. And you gotta love that stuff when you have a very immersive RPG like that. So, for me, solid B+ on Cyberpunk 2077. Would I suggest you play it? Yes. On PC. Or a next-gen console. And that's one of the other things that knocked the... Because I always start the grade at an A, then knock it down from there. That's how I'm going to do these. Figure the base grade's going to be A+, and then we go down from there. Instantly went down a full letter grade just because of how bad it did on current gen consoles. My understanding is Xbox One handled it pretty well, but PS4, my PS4 homies, you got the shaft. Like, y'all got dogged on PS4, but PS5, I guess it runs well. On Xbox Series X, it runs well, and I guess it runs well on Xbox One. I personally play it on PC, so... And I still love that it gives you good controller support, but the whole thing about it being bad on console knocked a complete letter grade off, in my opinion. But yeah, it probably would have still stayed in the A range if the starting paths actually mattered a bit more. There wasn't so many weird bugs to break immersion. And obviously the console the console botch. So, if you'd like to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and tell me what game that you've seen me play before would you like me to review. I know I plan on doing one. I might do a Pokemon game review for like Sword and Shield or something like that that's relatively fresh in the memory. And try to look at it, because this is designed so I don't look at it through too many rose-colored glasses. But yeah, dudes, let me know what games you think I should review or give a shot. And what other kind of review kind of things would you like me to talk about, like wrestling or music or games, movies, anything of that nature. Let me know what you want to see. Massive shout out to my boy Lambo Lada for allowing me to use his music. And I will see you soon. Good day, goodbye, and good night.